over to Mr. Matthew.
Okay, Chris.
The next two items. Yep. Next three. Yep.
Hello, everybody. Yes, so there is a request for an accompaniment. The school production.
Chris, you're kind of hard to hear.
Oh, am I? All right, sorry.
That's
There you
better.
go.
Yeah,
I
it's a little
think,
better.
I think the mic must be your computer. So when you face the computer, we can hear you better.
Okay, is that okay?
Yes.
Yep.
That's better. Thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. So in the past, the individual who had performed this was also the let me let me restart that. The musical director currently is not able to function as an accompanist, so they wanted to add that as a stipend, so it can still be, they could still have that as part of the musical. So they've, we're looking to add it at $20 an hour, not to exceed 20 hours.
And Chris, is that designed to the 20 hours that designed to include some rehearsal time? I assume.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
production's not. Okay.
Yeah, that should cover the entire program. And I don't believe that they've found one for this year. So this is likely next year, unless something's materialized over the past, week or so that I'm unaware of.
Okay. Anybody have any questions, Paul or Aaron?
Nope.
Okay. If not, is there a motion?
Let me bring up the agenda.
I move to add the accompanist position for $20 an hour, not to exceed 20 hours.
Second.
Second.
Okay. All in favor, Aaron?
Aye.
Paul?
Aye.
An aye for me. All right. So that passes 3-0. I guess, Krista, you're up on the next one, the approval of the dual certified teacher stipend.
Sure. So the request here is to add another tier to the already existing stipend tier. It's an incremental $1,632. So if there is 1 to 12 students in a class on an IEP, that would be an additional stipend that would be awarded to the faculty.
Okay, and just for context, my understanding is that the collective bargaining agreement currently has stipends that are broken out based on the number of students in a particular class. That right now there's a stipend for 1 to 2 students, separate one for 3 to 4, and it currently works its way up to 9 to 10. We're just adding to that if there were 11 or 12 students.
That is correct.
That's correct.
Increase. Okay. All right. Anybody have any questions, concerns, any discussion on that?
It's not tiered based on which school you're at. It's just flat across the board.
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. All right, any concerns? All right. Is there a motion?
I move to approve the dual certified teacher stipend for the new rate category for 11 to 12 students at $9,792 as presented.
Okay. And is there a second,
Second.
Aaron?
Second.
All right. All in favor, Paul?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
And aye for me. Unanimous, 3-0. And then Paul, I'm sorry, Chris, you also have the school bus transportation contract?
Yeah, so we went out to bid, and Connolly was our sole bidder, and we've had them with us since I think it was 1998 at this point. And so the recommendation is to accept their bid. The one part of note here is that there's variability in the contract, and mainly that's the gas pricing. As I'm sure everybody's aware, we have gas is high at this point in time. Our current contract was $2.54. We're going to $5.01, but it's based on if it comes back down in July, it won't be in July, but in September 1, October 1, if that number drops, then our contract is variable, where it would drop accordingly to the gas prices. So we're not fixed in at this $5.01 rate at this point in time. It's just a, it's a placeholder based on where the market is currently.
Just
Chris,
if I can ask that the record reflect that Tina's joined us at 6:09 p.m. Sorry, Paul, you were going to say something?
Yeah, no problem. So Chris, how often are we addressing the pricing? Is it quarterly, semi-annually?
Monthly.
Okay. So, and I mean, is it going to be not a contractual change? It's going to be something in a billing or an invoicing that's going to reflect the cost for that month or something?
Correct. It's based on an index, and then it'll come right through on the invoice.
Okay. So it's not something we'll need to readdress as contract language as things adjust. It'll be the contract currently has it worded, so you handle it in invoicing.
That's correct. The way the bid was set up is it's based on an index.
Okay.
Any other questions for Chris?
Chris, does the contract finally have any of the bus tracking software for the parents in this go around?
So the contract does not include that. We are planning and working hard. It's essentially every Thursday. I have a half-hour meeting, and they're getting to be more frequent than just Thursday. We have 3 software technologies that we're trying to get to talk to one another. We're almost there. We're just not there quite yet. So I'm reasonably confident we'll be there at the beginning of next year. If not, hopefully a pilot this year, but we're not quite there yet.
Okay, fantastic. Thanks for the work on that.
And Chris, I did see in the materials that got circulated that there is reference to a GPS tracking system with a cost of, I guess for FY23 it'd be $720 per bus per year. So that's included in the bid. It's just a matter of making sure we can make it operate. Is that
exactly? It's an option. Yeah, it was an option to, and like an add-on to the bid, assuming that we could have it activated.
Okay. And I had one other question on the fuel pricing. So if I understand right, is the 501 figure a cap basically on gas prices?
No, it's not. It goes, I believe it's in increments of, I believe it's every 10 cents it triggers to a.
You're cutting out a little, Chris.
I apologize. It's every 10 cents it would trigger. So if we end up at 511, I'll look to make sure it's 10 cents, but I'm pretty sure it is. If we end up at 511, we owe more. If we end up at $4, we're gonna owe less.
Okay.
It's similar to what the contract is now. So right now we're paying escalation costs because it's just by nature of where we are in the market.
All right. And the total value of the contract is sort of starts at next year being in the ballpark of $1.3 million and escalating up to 1.45 over 5 years if we extend the last 2 options, just so the record reflects sort of the amount of money we're talking about here.
Yeah, just to clarify, if you look further, there should be, I think, 3 pages on the attachment.
Just having a hard time hearing you again.
Essentially, I think your computer microphone is what it's using, not your earbuds. So.
Right, is that better now?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
I apologize, everybody. I'm trying something new with my headphones and thought I had it all under control. So if you look down, there should be within your packet.
No, we're still missing you.
You're fading out, Chris.
Okay.
Keep your head up, Chris.
I'm trying to read it, not do it by memory. There should be an attachment within the packet. So that what you probably just referenced was the for fiscal 23, we should be at a total contract of 1.412 for the total, because you're going to bring in athletics and
Okay, I see that.
other
Yeah.
items. So
I was looking at the base for normal tiered busing in the morning, and you're alluding to the third page, which has total figures.
Yeah.
correct.
Page 16. Yeah.
All right. I just want, I guess, was thinking that the record ought to reflect what kind of money we're talking about for busing generally. All right, anybody else have anything else on the bus contract? Okay, is there a motion?
I move to approve the school bus transportation contract for the Ashland Public Schools and Michael J. Connolly and Sons, July 1, 2022 to June 30th, 2025, with with option for 2 years.
Okay. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, Tina had the second. Tina,
Aye.
Aaron,
Aye.
Paul,
Aye.
an aye for me as well. Paul, do you want to do the warrant articles so you can excuse yourself?
Yeah, if we could do that, I'd appreciate it.
Yeah, go right ahead.
So let's bring it up. So between April 8th, 2022 and May 5th, 2022, I, Paul Kendall, authorized by my signature payables in the amount of $1,105,719.97. This includes general fund expenses of $790,320.52, revolving expenses of $267,963.61, grant expenses of $47,513.51, and meals expenses of $92.33. I also signed off on $3,536,496.23 of payroll.
Okay, thank you, Paul. Are you going to excuse yourself?
Yes, I will excuse myself. It's 6:16.
Okay, thanks, Paul. Have a good night.
Thanks.
So Tina, I know you came on late. The next item on the printed agenda was the allocation and appropriation of funds from the operating budget to the Mendes School, but we're skipping over that for tonight.
Okay.
So the next item on the agenda is the update on the equity audit. Mike?
So the equity audit is in full swing at this point. We have already undergone a lot of individual interviews with some of our district leadership team, and focus groups have begun. There's been a focus group that's already taken place at this point with our school committee, as well as with our assistant principals and our deans, and some of our special education staff. Focus groups are happening next week with parents in the community, as well as some of our other district level leaders. And student focus groups are scheduled for May 12th and May 16th. An email went out to various members of community organizations today, inviting them to a focus group on May 16th. So we are moving along. I will say that this has been a challenging task, if in terms of some communication with the folks that are running the focus group. But we are continuing to work hard to make sure we get all these things done. They have access to a number of different documents. They've been reviewing documents. This has been a great deal of work by a lot of folks that have helped out, significantly. Karen Johnson, Lou Santiago, Chris and his staff, Kathy Silva, and the folks in the Director of Student Services office. So we're thankful to everybody for pitching in. Our curriculum leaders have done a great deal of work here. So it's been a all on board effort, and hopefully we'll be wrapping things up in the next few weeks.
Thanks, Mike. Any questions for Mike on the equity audit?
Mike, can you remind me again what the time frame is for them to complete the audit and kind of have a report to the district?
I would have to go back and look at the original RFP.
And it's okay. I just
Chris-
didn't remember off the top
Chris-
of my head either.
Chris might have it handy.
It's essentially fiscal close.
Right.
You know,
June
like-
30th. Yeah.
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 It'll be, Tina, so it'll be something we would connect with again at the summer conference for the school committee. Yep.
Anything else, Tina?
No.
Aaron, did you have any questions for Mike? Mike, I just two, what ages?
No, I didn't, Mark.
Okay. Mike, what ages are the students that they're conferring with? Is it just high school, middle school, all ages?
They will have meetings with students who are in grades 4 through 12.
Okay, great.
The
And do you have
fourth and fifth graders will meet together, 6 and 8 through 8 together, and 9 through 12 together.
And do you have any sense of how many people, both parents and students, they're hoping to talk with in the course of the process?
Yeah, so they're hoping to talk to about anywhere between 8 to 15 students in each of the groups, and the same for parents as well. They'd like to get to, between 8 and 15 if possible. And then, our community groups is a pretty large organization. So we sent a lot of emails there, and a lot of those folks overlap. That many of our parents are also part of the different community organizations. So I'm thinking that they'll probably end up speaking with, close to 60 or 70 people by the time they're done.
Okay, great. All right, thank you. Anything else on the audit? No? Okay. So as I always do whenever I sit in for Lori, I skip something on the agenda. And I know that I skipped over, with a little help from a birdie, skipped over item 4, which was the General Appropriations Act relative to pandemic-related disruptions in enrollment. Recommendation vote on the use of funds in school year 23. So let's go back to that. Mr. Adams, I think you have a presentation that you want to give her.
I do. I'm going to share my screen here.
Sure.
Can everybody see this okay?
Mhm.
Yeah,
Great,
thank you.
Thanks. So just briefly, maybe there we go. So this just came to us about probably 2 weeks ago. We were informed that due to the fluctuation of our enrollment because of the pandemic, we had such a decrease in population and then a large increase in population that the state had decided that it was appropriate to provide districts with additional funding, basically looking at our Chapter 70 and how it would have been impacted negatively due to the pandemic. So the General Appropriation Act does a couple things. It provides funding, takes into account a significant decline in enrollment, and then a large increase in enrollment going into the 23 school year. As you can see, I just shared with you, the way the state looked at this was that we had to regain 10% of our lost enrollment plus 5 additional students. Well, we did more than 10%. We lost 92 students, but we've regained 120. So we certainly met the criteria. They capped out what school districts could actually receive. So we received $277,492. And it was very clear that the funds were to be treated as a grant fund. These funds were not to be allocated to the town, so they did not fall under our 70-30 split, if you will. And it's a one-time use that they are allowing us to roll into FY23. So although we received it just probably a week ago, Chris, the actual funding, we're able to roll it to FY23. So there are a couple things, and if you notice, the numbers do not equal the $277,000. It's because the slide is something that I wanted to share with you to get your thoughts on in your approval. So we certainly feel as though, as the funds relate specifically to enrollment, and as you know, we've had a significant increase in enrollment with L students, but just overall increase in students, that we want to create another summer learning academy, accelerated learning academy, K through 5, to allocate about $30,000 towards that. We believe that because these are one-time funds, as we look towards the future, when we look at our revolving accounts, if we can offset some of the use of the funds in FY23 for school choice, athletics, and transportation, it'll set us up in a better position to utilize those funds in future years when we're not getting the same funding from the state. There were 2 areas here that I think are appropriate to think about spending for faculty and staff. One is potential increase in staffing at Warren and Mendes. As you know, the class sizes have gotten large. That being said, we still only have about less than 160 students enrolled at Warren in kindergarten. And, you know, while we have 10 teachers at that grade level, and it's certainly appropriate that as we go through the rest of this year and thinking about next year, that we might move some staff within the building now that would help offset class size. The other option is looking at creating, as you know, last year we created a half team for the grade 7 and 8 at the middle school. And what we notice is, again, our 6th grade teams are really large, 230 plus students. And so adding another half team at the 6th grade level would help reduce those class sizes and then provide more equity across the entire building. So certainly the 6th grade has had class sizes of 27 to 30 this year, whereas 7th and 8th grade, because of the half teams, we're in that 22 to 23 range. I'll come back to those two in a moment. Certainly, we've talked about our dyslexia program, $30,000 instead of having it out of the operating budget, take it through here. And then I think it's appropriate that as we start our English language learner program and have the director of ELL coming aboard, that we fund, allow Ms. Arnold to start with some funding and looking at translation programs and other areas that she might need to meet the needs of our ELL students. So those are really the areas that I think we should be looking at spending these funds. As I said, it increases more than $277,000. So it's the Warren Mendes versus the half team at the 6th grade, right? Those are the two big areas. My recommendation of those two is that we create another half team at the middle school, and that we continue to monitor the Warren and Mendes enrollment as we go through the summer to determine what we might need to do. We potentially could have some changes within our staffing based on retirements and or folks who leave during the summer. So we might have some savings. And I don't want to say it's on the, not a priority. We know in FY24, we've committed basically to increasing the staffing at Mendes as we open a new building. And the Warren numbers based on projections should be dropping over the next couple of years. So it's always a battle of determining where we're actually going to put these funds. But my recommendation is for the 6th grade at this time. I think that's the last slide. I'm just going to close this so I can see people. I'm sorry. I'm speaking to some beautiful looking kids there, but not speaking to you all. So that's really where we are with these funds. They are one time. We've got to be thoughtful of how we expend them. It's a grant, if you will. The great question becomes, okay, Jim, what do we do then in year 2 of a half grade, half team, 6th, 7th, and 8th? And I'll be upfront. I've had conversations with Mr. DiGirolamo as well as with the 6th grade team anyway. I believe we really need to be investigating and looking at the middle school schedule. I don't think it is with 700 students. I don't think it meets the needs from a academic standpoint, but also from a fiscally responsible and a sustainable program. And so this is a 1-year fix at this point in time. But I think it's critically necessary to create some equity across the board and to allow us to actually do a really deep dive investigation with the entire faculty and staff at the middle school to find a schedule that will work across the board long term. So I'll pause there. I know you have everything in front of you. Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks, Jim. Tina or Aaron, you have any questions or comments?
Yeah, I mean, Jim, I'd love to, if you could just talk us through a little bit in terms of the class sizes and kind of looking at what are the class sizes at Warren and Mendes? I know you said that there may be some variability to potentially move staff around to address that.
Yep.
So what would that look like, and what do those numbers look like versus kind of that incoming 6th grade class, and what would those class sizes look like?
Sure. So yeah. So again, I mean, we have 10 teachers per class at the Warren School. So average class size should be between 23 to 25, currently at max 23. 230 kids is 23 kids. At the middle school, we're talking 28 in the classroom because of the way their schedule is designed. So if you remember, think about an ELA teacher has half the team, but they're only teaching 4 of their content, and then they have their 5th class is the discovery. So inherently, it just builds more kids into their actual content classes. So that's something that I've pushed back and said we really need to be looking at. I think as a schedule was developed with 600 students at the middle school, those class sizes weren't that big, right? There was 25 in a class. But as we've gotten to 27, 28, it doesn't work. I also think that as Mr. Regan looks at his use of the paraprofessionals within his building, we've got to think differently and creatively of how we're using them across the board. Right now at the kindergarten level, you've got 2 adults in every single classroom. And if the numbers are 180 kids, do we need 18 in a class? That's what the average class size would be. Or can it increase to 20 to 21 and take someone and move it into the 2nd grade, which has 240 kids, Pete? Maybe a little less now.
The low 230s.
Right. So that being said, now you can reduce those, Tina, from 23 down to 21. We still may need to think about in the fall, which we've done. Apologize for my dog. We may still think about in the fall, depending upon what our enrollment looks like. We've added staff in the fall. It's not easy to do. It's not fun to do with families that we call and say, hey, by the way, we want to pluck 2 or 3 from this class to create another class, but here are the benefits of doing that. We've historically been able to do that. And that's why I've said, I think as we move forward, looking at enrollment, as well as looking at potential staff leaving throughout the summer, which does happen, and our hiring practices from those retiring, when we finally get a good sense of where we stand with regard to our cost savings for replacement of educators, we might come back to you and say, okay, I think we should be adding this. It's kind of a unique situation with our enrollment right now. There are probably 5 or 6 classes across the district that have a large group, whereas the rest are that manageable 205 to 220. So it's where do we put the resources and create this equitable environment? Yeah.
No, that's helpful. Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. Erin, did you have anything?
Nope, I'm good.
Okay. So, I mean, Jim, I certainly support the thought process you put out. Makes sense. I think class sizes at the middle school seem to have been a point of discussion for several years running. Adding a half team, it was at the 7th, 8th grade level was necessary. And, so focusing on that where there is a sort of more obvious need, at least my way of looking at things, makes sense. The only concern I'll flag is it does feel like we've had some conversation to some degree about the middle school schedule for a number of years running.
Yeah.
And so it does feel like, to your point, getting a solution or deciding that the current model is the right solution, one way or another, we need to sort of, I think, in the next year, figure out the answer to that question, sort of nail it down and figure out how we're moving forward. And if that means a permanent staffing adjustment there to get class sizes down, we'll have to figure that out. But if it means, using a different model for schedule, then maybe that's what it means as well. I'd like to see the issue brought to a head.
Yep.
So that we can get to wherever we need to be sooner rather than later.
I don't disagree with you. And I think Dave and Mike and I have sat for a number of meetings to have that conversation. And we will. So Tina, just to give you a frame of reference, my projections, I think, boil it down a little bit more, depending upon, again, what we end up getting for kindergarten classes, right? The current projection, if we only had 9 teachers, would be 22 students in a classroom. And that's assuming, again, they've got 2 adults in every classroom. The first grade would be 23. And then if we moved one of the kindergarten staff members to the second grade, because that's the bubble, that's the 200, the larger number, that would move it down to 21 and a half students or 22 students. Okay. So to give you context, instead of the 24. So,
Sure.
Yeah.
And just to piggyback on, what Mark was saying, I think it is important to take a look at this, because it sounds to me like if we approve the half 6th grade team tonight, and then we have that half 7th, 8th grade team, after next year, all of those funds go away. So we have to, if I remember correctly.
No, that's not the case.
Okay.
The 7th and 8th grade are funded for 2 more years, should we decide to keep that model.
Okay.
Right. But again, looking at so we had it with the ESSER funds, we were able to budget for it for 3 years.
3 years. Okay.
Yeah. So this next year, that's right. It'd be your year. But to be honest, if we look at the schedule differently and we can not have those half teams, now we're looking at utilizing those funds to help offset class sizes in other buildings.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a long range plan here. It's just, how do we get there?
Yeah, absolutely.
So Jim, to summarize, as I understand your recommendation, because you'd put sort of 6 bullet points up, but we're really only moving forward 5 based on the numbers.
Yeah.
It's the summer accelerated learning program, K-5, 30,000.
Yep.
Offset of revolving accounts, 80,000.
Yep.
The purchase of the dyslexia program, 30. Funding for the ELL department, 20, and then 120 to add a half team at 6th grade at the middle school.
That is correct.
Is there a motion to approve the allocation of the FY 2022 General Appropriation Act funds for the 22-23 school year, consistent with Mr. Adams' recommendations?
Yes, I would move. So moved. You just said it perfectly. Mark.
Second. Yeah.
All right. And sorry, Aaron, I didn't hear you. Is that a second?
That is a second.
Okay. I'll call for the vote. Tina?
Aye.
Aaron?
Aye.
An aye for me as well. Thank you, Jim.
You're welcome. And just so you know, I've certainly been in touch with Dave, and I've had conversations with the 6th grade team as well. And we'll meet next week to talk further about this process going forward. It's actually a seamless, Dave, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a pretty seamless addition into his schedule, and keeping common planning time alive and things of that nature, because of it's only across 1 grade level. It was really a challenge this year because our teachers were teaching in 2 grade levels. So to create common planning time was a challenge, but it will not be that challenge of the 6th grade.
Okay. Great. Thanks, Jim. Next up is the superintendent's update. If you had anything else, Jim?
No, the only thing I want to update was we hired a principal at the David Mendes School, and officially signed, sealed, and delivered. I want to thank Mike and all the folks who participated in, I think, 3 or 4 rounds of a screening committee. And it's an exciting time, to move forward with this. I thank Claudia for all the work she's done, and she stayed on graciously beyond what she wanted to originally. And I can't thank her enough until we found the right individual. And I truly believe that Jenna Larinaga is the right individual for us. And with a lot of experience as an assistant principal, basically a co-principal, moving into a new building in Acton as well, a new elementary school, MSBA project, special education background. She's got a lot of really tremendous qualities that I think will help us here in Ashland. So that's really the main update. And I guess I should have one more. The strategic plan process is underway. There will be an email going out to the community in the next week with regard to some community forums. And the administrators are meeting next week with Hazard Young and Atea Associates for their conversations about the district. And then school committee will meet individually with them, and we will have some community forums. They're going to be on site probably at the end of May, having conversations with high school students, faculty across all the buildings, key stakeholders, ASHPAC, our bilingual parent council, a variety of groups within the community in person. And then they're going to open it up virtually so they can get even more folks, our partners, for conversation. So it's an exciting time, and they'll be done their process probably the end of June, where we'll have a presentation in July to the school committee.
Great. Thank you, Jim. Any questions for Jim from Aaron or Tina? Jim, one thing I was going to just ask if you could do, and I think you talked about this last time, I think you did anyway, about the process with the Mendes search.
Yeah.
And maybe you can just talk a little bit about how you ended up where you did, because I think this was, as you said, a 3 or 4 round process. And I think, for some folks, the announcement, I don't remember what was shared publicly, but we had another finalist, and obviously that didn't work out. Then you're able to move fairly quickly to land Jenna.
Yeah.
Who seems like a really strong candidate. Maybe you just talk a little bit about how that came to be.
Sure. So as you know, we did have a finalist that we offered a position to, and Dr. Sermons decided to stay in his current role in Providence. And we had the option of thinking about, do we run a parallel search with an interim and still looking for a permanent position, permanent principal position at the Mendes School? And in talking to superintendents locally who were going through searches and still are, they commented to me, Jim, we think it's probably in your best interest to open your search again. There are some really strong candidates that exist. And certainly I know Mike, in the interview process in the 3rd round of folks, there were 2 really high quality candidates that they interviewed who put their application in. And Jenna came to the top of the screening committee. And when she came forward, I talked to a couple superintendents where she was a finalist, and those superintendents said, Jim, we would hire her tomorrow. Some of them had already recruited and or looked at candidates that they had their eye on, and Jenna was outstanding in those interviews. And they called me and said she would be a great candidate for you to look at, as well as our other candidate. That being said, we go through the process, and the administrators met with Jenna this week as well. And I did some reference checks and due diligence on our end. And the one thing that kept coming up was she would be outstanding, but she's also going to be swept up by someone else potentially. And so we acted and moved a little more quickly than we might have. I felt like our process of having a community forum and meeting with the faculty and staff, while it was a nice forum, the process in the last time, if we had waited a couple more weeks to be able to organize all of this, we potentially could have lost another really good, high quality candidate, because she was interviewing elsewhere, and made that decision. And I'm, not going to look back on it as in a negative light. I'm saying, in talking to even the faculty and staff who participated on the screening committee, they even said to me point blank last week, you need to get this done. She's really good. She's outstanding. Let's see if you can wrap it up. So that's how we ended up where we are, Mark. And
any sense of why she didn't apply in the earlier phases?
She was applying elsewhere. I don't know if it was just one of those things where she didn't say that. I didn't ask that particular question. I don't know if Mike did or if anyone else did. But we advertised, if you remember, we did it so early in the process, and that probably bit us a little bit. And then, it just when you're looking at areas of, circumference of where you're looking at your employment, she's in Acton right now, so she was applying for jobs really in that locale where she was. I don't want to go to the other towns. I don't think it's appropriate to say which one she was in, but she was looking in that, more that central Mass region, if you will. And then when she didn't get one of the positions, the superintendent told her, listen, Ashland would be a great fit for you. You should at least look at it. So she did.
Great. Thank you. All right. Let's go to the next item. I think Assistant Superintendent's report. Mike, do you have anything else?
I don't. Jim stole most of my thunder. I was just going to thank the folks who took part in the screening process. We had it was a long process. We had many people who spent a lot of time and energy to help hire Jenna. So I wanted to just thank them publicly.
Yeah, on behalf of the committee, our thanks as well. I mean, people put a lot of time and energy into this that they didn't have to in most cases. So really appreciate everybody's involvement. And if Claudia is still, yeah, there you are. Your picture's not on, Claudia, but thank you for staying with us and helping as we get to this transition. Big shoes to fill for sure. Okay, and the next item is approval of minutes, April 7th minutes. Anybody have any feedback on the minutes? Tina's shaking her head. Aaron, I can't see you shaking your head. Is there a motion
No,
to?
I'm good.
Yeah,
You're good.
I'll make the
All right,
motion if you want me to.
Please.
To approve, I move to approve the regular session minutes of April 7th, 2022 as presented.
Okay, Aaron, do you second?
I do second.
All right, and you vote in favor as well?
I do.
Wow, you're not excited. Tina?
Aye.
Aye, and aye for me as well. All right, that passes. Jim, we have any gifts tonight?
We do. We have Planet Aid, $398.30. And Ashland K-12 PTO for the middle school grade 8 field trip, $2,350 for a total of $2,748.30.
Okay, is there a motion?
I'll move to
move to-
accept the gifts and donations in the amount of, remind me, Jim,
$2,748.30.
I second it.
$2,748.30. Sorry.
Yes, you got it. Yep.
Too much happening all around me at the same time.
All right, is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. And Aaron, while you've got your mic on,
Yep.
in favor?
Aye.
Tina?
Aye.
Aye for me as well. All right. The member updates.
I will go because I have one finally.
Okay,
And
go
I'll
ahead,
say
Aaron.
it for both Paul and I. Paul and I participated in the candidates forum on Tuesday night for the school committee and were interviewed by Mr. Featherstone. So,
Okay.
and then last night town meeting.
Mhm.
And I should have said I did not go because there is COVID in my house and I did not want to risk spreading it to others. So I hope it went well. I assume we have a budget. All right. Thank
We
you,
do.
Aaron. Tina,
We do, yeah.
Tina, do you have anything tonight?
No, I don't have any updates, but I just want to acknowledge Teacher Appreciation Week this week, and on all of our teachers and all of our administrators, kind of give our thanks and appreciation for all you do every day for all of our students. And so I hope you are feeling the love. I know the PTO has been doing a lot in the different buildings this week, and I hope you know how very much we appreciate all of you do and all of our teachers do.
Thank you, Tina. Well said. And I do have one brief update. I think it was before, this was since our last meeting, our last regular meeting. Lori and I both participated in an event with Leadership Metro West. Leadership Metro West is an organization that does a series of experiential learning programs around leadership and community events. And the program they were running was, this particular day was for their they call it their class, and it was about issues in education and what's going on with schools these days. So Lori, myself, a member from the Hopkinton School Committee and a member from the Framingham School Committee, all of which went through the program at different points in the last 20 years, participated in this panel discussion with this year's Leadership Metro West class, which was, I think, about 3 weeks ago. Anyway, it was a really interesting dialogue. It was interesting to hear the questions. We had a number of Ashland residents who are participating in the class this year. It was great to be able to represent the Ashland School Committee in that discussion. That's all I have. I don't think we have any new action items to put on our list. So if there's nothing else, anybody else, if there's nothing else, I can call for a motion to adjourn. I
Second.
got it. Boy, that's a quick second. Tina?
Aye.
Aye. Aaron?
Aye.
And aye for me. Thanks, everybody. Have a good night. And your
night,
regular
thank you.
host will be back next time.
Thanks, Mark. Bye.
Good night.
Thanks.